Alright, so let's go into isolation mode on these, Alt Q, and we'll just trash our symmetry modifier again. And this one also is subdivided, so let's take it down to one iteration, and we'll uncheck isoline display. And I think I'm just going to map it with one applied, so let's just right click and convert it to editable poly. And this is fairly simple to unwrap, so let's just put the unwrap UVW on, and we'll drop into edge again. And I think I'm just going to cut off the front and the back, so let's zoom in here. And let's maybe split it right on this edge loop here. Alright, so I'm just going to grab an edge there and here, holding control. We'll do a loop on that, and we're going to have to go around each side because it's going to stop at this point here. So we'll just grab a couple more edges on this side, loop it. Okay, and then we'll go just up to this corner here. And just control click two more on this side and two more on this side. And again, I'm going right to that corner point there. And loop. Alright, let's turn off the map scene so you don't have to look at those. So that takes care of the outside. We're going to have to do something with the slot here, so let's zoom in again. And same thing here, I'm just going to grab the center corner edge. Alright, on either side. And hopefully you can see this okay, and I'm just going to do a loop on those, and they should go all the way around on this part. So we're basically just tracing the profile of it. Alright, and we'll just convert these to seams. And we're going to need to split it in the center here of the slot and on the outside corner, so let's just zoom in up here. And I'm just going to use point to point on this. So we'll turn that on, and I'm just going to go right from this point here all the way across to that point. And right click. Alright, let's make sure they actually touch each other. There we go. And we'll do the same thing down here in the bottom corner. So right across. Right click. Just make sure they actually connect. There we go. And we'll just split it inside the slot somewhere. So let's just do it maybe down at the bottom. So I'm just going to go across edge to edge. Go around to the side and just make sure they connect to each other. And I know it's a little hard to see this, so I'll try to go fairly slow. Alright, I'll zoom out a bit. Okay, so we're just connecting it up in the center on one corner and then on the opposite corner. And I think that's all the seams we will need, so let's just go to face, and we'll just start on the inside of the slot. I'm just going to grab a poly in there, hit F2, expand the selection, we'll just do a pelt on this. Alright, commit. For the front faces we can just use a planar map because it's flat, so let's just expand it and we'll just do a quick one. Same thing on the back. Quick planar map, and for the outside let's just expand our selection on one chunk of it, and we'll just use a pelt here. Pull it out, and we'll do that down here as well. Okay, pelt again, and commit. Alright, so let's chuck the checker pattern on. And we shouldn't have any problem stitching this back together, so let's just turn on by element, and just drag our pieces out again. And we'll just open up relax. Put a mount up to 1, put the iterations up, and face angles again. And we'll just start on the outside here. And we'll see if we can get this to straighten out. And we do have a 90-degree angle pretty much on this corner, so sometimes it'll twist up. Just see if I can get it to go. And if you do ever run into problems where you have 90-degree angles on your mesh and you're trying to flatten it out nice and straight and it starts to twist on the corner, an easier solution to fix that rather than just sitting here and hitting relax is just break it. So you're working with two smaller pieces, and then just relax them until they're straight and then stitch them back together, which we might have to do on this, but I'll see if I can get it to go straight anyway. Or you can always use the straighten selection, which I'll try, and then we'll relax it one more time. Alright, so that takes care of that one. Let's move into the other side here, do the same thing. And I'm not going to wait for it, I'm just going to use this. It's a little bit quicker. Alright, so that takes care of the other side, and then we have the inside of the hole. The same deal with this, it's probably going to twist up. You could switch it to edge angles and try that. See if you can get it to kind of unfold, and then always switch back to face angles to finish it off if you want to. Alright, looks like that's working pretty good on this piece, surprisingly. So I'm just going to let it do its thing. There we go, and let's just hit straighten again, just so it's straight up, and I'm just going to put it back to face angles and relax it one more time. Just to make sure we don't have any distortion. And then we'll just deal with the front and back here. So just relax them both quickly. And we'll rescale. And we'll just see if we can put some of it back together. So I'm just going to use rotate here and just straighten these pieces out a little bit. Alright, relax one more time quickly, and we'll see if we can stitch some of it back together. So I'm going to go to edge, turn off by element, and I'm just going to loop around here on the outside edge. It's going to go all the way around, I'm pretty sure. No, it didn't. Okay, that's what we want. So I'm just going to go in and just deselect an edge on the corner here, right where it starts to bend, and we'll go down and do the same thing at the bottom. Alright, deselect that, and we'll just right click and stitch selected. So we put one side back on, and we'll do the same thing maybe on this side over here. So again, just grab an edge, do a loop. Just going to zoom in. That's fine. Check the bottom out here. We actually don't want these ones selected here, so I'm just going to Alt drag, and I'm going to stop right at this point here so it's even with this side, and we'll stitch. Alright, and we can probably put one more piece on this side, so let's just keep going. So loop again. Just deselect these bent edges down here and up here, holding Alt and stitch. Alright, and I'm just going to grab the whole chunk again with element turned on, and we'll relax. Straighten everything out, and then we're just left with two pieces, and this is just the inside of the slot there. We can't put that back in, so I'm just going to move it over and stick it right next to it. And let's just grab everything and just scale it down a little bit uniformly. It's not so huge. And we'll just park that over here somewhere for now. Alright, so close that. Just close up the rollout, and we'll just take a look here. I'm just going to turn off my peel seam so we can see a little easier. And I think that should be fine. Let's put another iteration of Turbo Smooth on top. Again, we'll just use one and no isoline. That looks pretty good, so we'll just exit. And again, we're going to have to copy it over to the other side, so let's just do that quickly. I'm just going to jump into the back view. So it's a little easier to see, and we'll just shift drag and copy this over. Again, I'm just going to reset the pivot first. And just shift drag it over here. Copy it, and we'll just grab our coordinates off of this again on the x-axis. Copy it out with Control C, and we'll just paste it in here. So negative 116.383, and enter. Okay, get it back into the spot we need it. And let's change the color on these while we're at it. And that takes care of those pieces. So let's move up to the foot now. We might want to do a save here just to be safe. So let's just save another copy. And let's maybe grab one of these little pieces here, and we'll go into isolation mode again, trash our symmetry one more time. Hit Z, and this is pretty simple. I think I'm going to see if I can actually unfold it so that the two sides will fold out and stay attached to this piece. And I think I'll just take off the outside as a separate piece and the inside of the hole. So let's throw the unwrap on, and let's just do this maybe with point-to-point seam. So I'm going to go to edge, grab point-to-point, and we'll maybe start right back here. And I'm just going to start on that chamfer right there, and just click, and we'll go along this outer edge loop. Okay, all the way along to the back corner, and we'll just stop right at this one. And right click. And we'll do the same thing on the other side, so just start here and just follow it along. And find revert, there we go. And stop at the same one. Okay, and we are going to need to split this way, so we might as well just connect these two across together, and we'll do the same thing up here. And I think that should work fine to unfold the outside. Let's maybe cut the inside of the hole out. So I'm just going to use loop here because it's going to be a little quicker. So we'll turn off point-to-point, control click two edges on the inside of the hole. Loop, convert to seams, and we'll just split it maybe right up here on the inside. So let's just use point-to-point for that, and we'll just go right across. Connect them up. And I think that should work fine. So let's go to face, and we'll just start on the inside of the hole, grab that, expand it. We'll use the cylindrical map here again. Let's grab the outside faces, and let's just do a pelt on that. Okay, and then we'll grab the last chunk, expand our selection. It should get both sides and the back. And we'll just pelt this. There we go. And commit, and let's chuck the checker on. Hit F2 so we can see what we're doing. And we'll turn off our background and just pull our pieces out again. So turn element on and just drag your pieces out. And I don't think we should have any problem getting this to flatten down. So let's just crank our mounts up on the relax tool, change it to face angles. And I'm going to start here with the outside faces. All right, relax that down a couple times, then we'll do the inside of the hole. And the outside, I'm just going to rotate so it's sideways, and we'll just relax that. Just take a look, make sure you don't have any weirdness. That looks actually like it worked pretty good, so we'll just close up the relax tool, rescale our pieces, and we could put some of it back together. We could put our outside strip onto the top here or the bottom, but that's probably going to be kind of a waste of UV space. So what I might do instead is just rotate these and just stack them. So let's just rotate this 90 degrees. I'm just going to park it up on the top. And we'll just take the inside of the hole and just park it up here or down here. It doesn't really matter. Alright, maybe stick them like that for now. And just grab everything and give it a scale. More manageable size, and we'll just park it over here again. And that's it for this piece. So let's close up the rollout. Turn off our seams. Take a look. That should work fine. So let's just center our pivot on this. Now that we're done, gotta change the mesh color to blue and exit isolation mode. And hit Z, zoom in, turn our edges back on with F4, and we'll just make a couple of copies of this and replace these ones. So let's maybe just grab the next one over here. I'm gonna delete the symmetry on it and just recenter the pivot on this piece. Okay, so into the hierarchy tab, effect pivot only, centered object, and then turn it off. And then we'll just make a copy of this piece. So I'm just going to shift drag one on the X again, say OK to that, and we'll just use your line tool here to line it up with this one. So let's grab the line tool, click on this piece right here, and we'll do X, Y, and Z. Let's do center and center, and OK. Just to replace it, and then we'll just zoom in and grab the one that's not mapped. Okay, and we know that one's still black, so just make sure you have the black one and delete it. Okay, and we'll just make a copy to the other side. So I'm just going to grab both these and we'll just shift drag them, so it's a little quicker than using the other technique. So copy, and just move them over here. Let's do this actually in a different view so we can see. So I'm just going to move into the back view and just pull these guys over until they kind of fit our piece here. Alright, just touching both sides of this piece, and that's good. So let's spin around. We have a couple more pieces to go, and we'll finally be done with these legs. So let's maybe just do the little pin piece next. So again, isolation mode, Alt Q, trash symmetry. And this is really, really simple. So like I mentioned earlier, I like to manually cut my seams into everything. It's just the way I like to do it, but you don't necessarily have to do that. You can just use polygon selections as well to select your chunks and cut it up. So I'll just show you a different technique here. So I'm going to put the unwrap on, and this time I'm going to go to face instead of edge, and we'll just grab some polys. So I'm just going to grab the outside polygon here and just hit planar map. Do the same with this side, planar map it. And then we'll do the center with the cylindrical map, but we want to make sure that we turn off ignore back facing here first. And that's always a good thing to keep an eye on, because if you're selecting faces like this, it looks like you have everything, but if you go around to the other side, you can see there's actually half that we don't have selected. So just turn this off and then just drag right down the center. Get all those center polys and then just grow your selection one time, just so you have the chamfers selected on both sides. And then we'll just hit cylindrical map and then turn it off. And we're essentially doing the same thing we've been doing manually by cutting our seams. It's just going to do it for us. Okay, so it is a faster technique, and it is a good one. I just prefer to do it manually, but that's just personal preference. All right, so we'll open up our editor window and chuck our checker pattern on there. And again, we'll just pull our pieces out. So turn element on, just pull your pieces apart. There we go. And it looks like I have a broken vert right here, so let's zoom in. Go to vertex, turn off by element, just grab these two and weld them. And we want to do these two down here. Okay, weld. And we'll just grab our chunk again and relax it. So tools, relax. Gonna use face angles again. And just stretch it out. And these guys don't really need it, but I'll do them anyway. So relax quickly, and then we'll just scale our pieces. And we'll put a couple of these back on. So let's go to edge, turn off by element, and just grab an edge up here. Stitch selected. Do the same thing down here. Stitch selected. And that's it. So it is definitely a little bit quicker than the manually cutting seams technique, but either way you want to go, they both work pretty good. So we'll just scale this down a little bit and just park it over here somewhere, and that takes care of the pin detail. So let's close up the rollout and we'll exit isolation mode. You can see here, I'm just going to change my mesh color while I'm at it to blue, and we'll just copy it over to the other side. So let's go to move. Just going to recenter the pivot on this. Right, just make sure this isn't active when you do it. Okay, center the pivot, and we'll shift drag a copy on the X over here. Grab our original, copy our coordinates again. Control C, grab our new one, put in a minus, hit Control V, hit enter. And the reason I didn't just shift drag it over is just because I want to have it an even reveal on both sides. So that's why I'm using the more precise technique on those guys. Alright, so let's move down to the feet. Just going to do another save here to be safe. Alright, so let's grab the 2 feet and we'll go in isolation mode on that, trash the symmetry again. And there's a few different ways we can map this. We could cut off the top and the bottom and unwrap the sides as a strip, or we could try to keep it all attached together. I think the fastest option would just be to cut it up and then we'll stitch it back together after. So let's just chuck the unwrap on here. And we'll go to edge, and I think I'm just going to start right on this lower chamfer edge here, and we'll loop all the way around the top and convert that to a seam. Okay, and we'll do the same thing underneath, just grab this edge here, and I'm also going to grab the one on the inside, so this one. Loop those, convert them to seams. Okay, let's turn off our map seam so we can see a little easier what we're doing. So we're basically just going around the top and around the bottom on the inside and the outside. And then we'll just split the corner somewhere. So let's zoom in, just grab a corner edge. Alright, convert that to a seam. We'll do the same thing on the opposite side up here. And the same thing on the inside. Alright, just zoom in, grab an edge, split it, and we'll do the same thing down here on the opposite corner. Grab an edge and split it. Okay, that should work I think. So let's go back to polygon. We'll just grab that top face, expand our selection. We'll just use a planar map here. And we'll grab it on the side, expand it. So you should have one of the thin sides and the long side selected. And we'll just use a pelt here. And same with this side, pelt. And the bottom little thin faces here, we'll just use a planar map because it's flat. So planar map, and we'll just use pelt on the inside. So expand your selection so you have half selected. Pelt that, and pelt the last piece. Alright, there we go. And let's just throw our checker pattern on. And we'll just quickly stitch this back together if we can. So I'm just going to pull my pieces out again so we can see what we're dealing with. Alright, there's the bottom and the top and the sides. And we'll just open up the relax tool again. Same deal as always, just pure mounts, change the face angles, and just relax your pieces down. And we are going to have some bent faces here, you can see, and that's just because of the angle we have on the corner here, so we might want to split those apart in a second, but for now, let's just relax them. Alright, these are the ones on the inside of the hole at the bottom, and then we have the little bottom faces and the top. Alright, so just relax them all. I'm just going to pull this a little bigger so you can see. And we'll move the top over there. For these ones, let's turn off by element, and I'm just going to grab a face, and also grab the little chamfer face there, which is on the corner, and just break those off. Alright, so right click and break, move them over here, do the same thing with the other half, these guys. Break. And we'll see if we can put it back together. So let's scale our pieces so they're uniform, and we'll just go to edge. And I'm going to go over to the top here and just grab a side edge. And right click and stitch, and we'll do the same thing on this side, and the bottom, and the top. Alright, stitch them on, and we might even be able to put this back onto one of the sides here, so let's just maybe grab an edge over here and stitch that on. And then we just are left with the faces that make up the inside of the hole down here, these guys. Alright, so let's just straighten these out. I'm just going to use the straighten selection again, just a little quicker. And if you wanted to, you could stitch these together so it's one long thin strip, but I think I might leave them broken and just maybe park them up here. So we'll just move them up, gonna rotate them, and just stick it next to it. And you're really not going to be able to see these too good on the model, so I'm not worrying about it too much, but that should be more than good enough for this piece. So let's close the relax tool, grab all our pieces and just do a uniform scale again, take it down a bit in size, and just park it somewhere. Alright, close up the rollout, and let's turn off our edges for a sec, our seams. Take a look. That should work fine, so we'll just change our mesh color again to blue, or whatever color you like, and we'll exit. Alright, hit F4, hit Z. That should work out just fine, so let's copy it over to this side. So I'm just going to do this the same way. I'm just going to center the pivot, and then just copy the coordinates. So let's activate move, copy our X coordinates, shift drag our piece over on the X and copy it, and then paste them in here with a minus. So a minus, paste, enter. Alright, just take a look and make sure everything's lined up fine. That looks centered, so that's good. So we're just left with these little foot pads. Alright, so same deal, isolation mode, trash the symmetry. And the way that we modeled this really wasn't ideal to map. We don't really have any edge details, so we can't really like loop a seam or anything down the side. So what I'm going to do is just use polygon selections here as well. So let's put the unwrap on. Drop into face this time. Make sure you turn off back facing. And we're just going to start with the center. So I'm just going to drag through, grab all the center polygons. Alright, let's zoom in on the end here. Alright, let's grow this one time. Alright, grow your selection. So you have everything selected but these side faces on both sides. Okay, and I'm just going to use a pelt map here. So pelt map, pull it out, and commit. And let's invert our selection with Control I. Okay, and that's going to invert everything so we just have those other side faces selected this time. And let's maybe just do a planar map for now. Alright, we can sort them out in a second. So I'm doing both sides at the same time, as you can see here. Those little pieces. Okay, and we'll just drag and drop our checker on. Turn off register so we can see, and let's just go into our editor window. Alright, pull a little bigger, and let's figure out what we want to do with it. So I'm just going to start by grabbing the chunk that's the main portion, and we'll relax this. And because we don't have the sides attached, it should unfold pretty good, I think, but we'll see what happens. So let's change it to face and just stretch it out. Alright, just take a look. And we have a lot of little triangles and stuff on these chamfers, so just want to make sure nothing's going to, crisscross or twist itself up, but that looks pretty good. So let's grab 1/2 of the little side faces and just relax those. And we'll do the same thing with this half. Just relax them. Okay, and then just click off and make sure you don't have anything selected, and then rescale your elements. Okay, and we could either leave it broken off like this, but like I said, I want to make sure we don't have too many pieces to move around later on, so we probably don't want to be dealing with all these tons of little tiny faces. So I'm going to try to actually stitch them back on here, and it's going to take a minute. There's not really any good way to do it. So let's zoom in, and what I'm going to do is just stitch them right onto the top of the little block piece here. So that'll be this edge right here. Okay, and you can see it up here. So I'm going to right click and stitch. Just put that piece on, and we'll just do that on each one. So I'm just going to go down and do one at a time, and I'll try to do this as quick as I can. And hopefully you set up a keyboard shortcut for this, because it'll definitely save you some time. But I didn't, so I'm just going to use the right click menu again like before. Alright, stitch selected, stitch selected. Alright, that's one side done. And we'll just come down the other side doing the same thing. So stitch them on. And we can relax this after, so if you accidentally move an edge a little bit or anything, don't worry about it too much. Just get them stitched on there. And I think we're almost there. There we go. There's the last one, so stitch. Okay, just so we have one chunk of UVs to work with for our entire pad here. Okay, so let's try relaxing it one more time. It probably won't make much difference, but we'll do it anyway. So let's use face angles. Just relax it out a couple times, just get rid of any distortion. And if you want to, you can always zoom in and just make sure nothing's crossing, but it shouldn't. I think that looks pretty decent for this piece. So I'm just going to scale it down uniformly again, and we'll just move it down here somewhere and drop it. Close up the rollout, change our color to blue. Alright, just hit Z, and we'll just take a look here. And by doing it this way, the texture is going to follow over all these little grooves. And you shouldn't notice any seams on the edges, I don't think. Alright, so let's exit isolation mode, and we'll just copy it over to the other side again. Alright, so just shift drag on the X. It looks like the pivot point's already centered here, so I'm just going to leave it alone and just copy out the X coordinates again. And paste them on here, negative 116.181, and enter. Okay, and you don't have to use that technique every time. You can just move it manually. It is a lot quicker, but I just want to make sure this is going to fit in here precisely like we had it before. So just take a look, make sure you don't have any gaps or anything interpenetrating. And I think we're finally done with the legs. Alright, so let's do a save. And before we finish this part up, I think I'm just going to get the post done. So let's grab that center post, go in isolation mode on it. And this isn't too complicated to do, so let's just put the unwrap on. And we're going to get some weird seams again. So if you do have access to the UVMapping clear modifier, I'd suggest putting that on before you do this, because it'll save some time later on. But again, I'll just do it without it, just so you can follow if you don't have that option. Alright, so let's drop into edge, and I'm just going to cut the top off, I think, so let's just do it around this chamfer here. So we'll loop around and convert that to a seam. And we can probably leave this attached to the rest of it for now. I'm going to try that, so we'll just move down here to where we have this wide chamfer, and I'm just going to cut it maybe right here at the bottom of this chamfer. Okay, so loop and convert. We're going to come out to the outside of this lip detail we have and just split it maybe right here. And we'll do the bottom one as well at the same time. So just grab an edge of both those chamfers, loop, convert them to a seam. Alright, these should all run all the way around. And we'll come underneath here and just grab an edge on this chamfer, loop it, convert it, and we'll just come down to the bottom here. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit and turn on my edges, and we could just follow one of these chamfer edges around. I want to try to hide the seam underneath because it'll probably be pretty noticeable on this piece, so I'm just going to use point to point here. Okay, and just follow that inner edge loop all the way around. Right back to where we started, there we go, and right click. Okay, I'm just going to turn off these map seams for a second, just so we're not confused by them. Just check and make sure we got everything. And I think that should work, so we're just going to have to do it vertically as well and split it. So let's turn off point to point, and we'll just maybe exit isolation mode for a sec here. I'm just going to turn my edges on and go around to the back, and I'm going to pick an edge that I want to have that vertical seam running down. We'll probably end up rendering this from the front or maybe a 3/4 view, so let's split it at the back where you won't really see it. Okay, so I'm just going to grab one of the vertical edges, loop it, and then we'll go back into isolation mode before we convert it to a seam. Alright, turn off the edges here. And it's going to run right up over this disc shape here, and we don't need that one on there, so let's just maybe deselect it. So let's just change our selection back to the paintbrush again, and just hold Alt and just deselect these ones on the flat faces. Alright, we'll leave this one on the outside. We're going to need that for our cylindrical map to work, so we'll just take these ones out. This little tiny one here can go. Alright, just go down to the bottom and take a look, make sure it actually matches up with our blue seam, which it does. And on the top here, we can get rid of this little one. Okay, so just make sure they're touching your seam at the top and the bottom, and then we'll convert it to a seam. And let's go to face, and we'll just start flattening stuff down. So let's just grab a top polygon and expand our selection. We'll just use a planar map here again. And we'll move down to the next piece. And use a cylindrical map this time. And for these guys, we'll just use planar maps on the top and the bottom, so just planar map that. For the outside little edge, we'll use the cylindrical map, so just select it, cylindrical map it, move underneath, planar map the bottom. Move to the main portion of the pole and just use the cylindrical map. And then on the bottom, again, we'll just use a planar map. Okay, so I think that's everything. Let's put the checker pattern on. And unfortunately, because we have this big piece sticking out right here, we're not really going to be able to put this all back together, but we'll see what we can do. So let's open up our editor. Alright, get rid of the background, put on the element again, and just pull your pieces out. So there's the bottom, and the bottom of that ridge detail, and that's a piece of the pole, and that's the top of it, and the top of the post, and the main section, and the top section. Okay, we're going to have some broken seams here like I mentioned before, and you can see it on this piece up here at the top, so let's maybe just fix that first before we go any further. So again, I'm just going to turn off by element here, zoom in, and any faces you see sticking out, just right click and break them off like we did before. And we'll move up here and just take a look. Take a look at this side. Okay, so it just looks like the one there. So let's go to edge and go over to this side, and we'll just grab these edges here. Deselect anything that we don't want. We just want the border selected again, and just stitch that back into place. And then we're just going to have to weld up verts. So let's go to vertex. And I'm just going to grab these guys here, and we'll weld. Move up here. Make sure the top's okay. It looks like it is. So come over to this side. Alright, weld these guys. And come to the bottom and weld these. Okay, and if they don't turn black, just check this loop and make sure you don't have any broken ones on that. Okay, but that looks good. So this piece looks like it's also got a break in it right here, I think. So let's just try welding it. Alright, that's good. This one also has it down here at the bottom. Alright, so just weld again. Alright, and these pieces should be fine over here. So let's just open up our relax tool again. Alright, again we'll use face angles, and let's just start doing maybe the pole first. So I'm just going to grab the top, and we'll keep an eye on it over here. And this is pretty simple compared to some of the other pieces, so it shouldn't be too hard to relax. So just hit it a couple times, and then we'll move down to the next piece, which is the little thin strip here on the side. This one's really long and thin, so it's going to take a second. You might even have to split it up into a couple pieces to get it actually to straighten out, but let's see what happens here. Alright, let's try edge angles. Okay, it's getting there. Let's actually just rotate it a little bit. Alright, try it again. And we can maybe try face angles. Okay, so just basically get it straightened out. You can even use the reshape options again if you want to. And we'll just park that over here, and let's move to the next piece, which is the main portion of the pole. Alright, zoom in, and again we'll use face angles on this one. Alright, that's good for that, so we'll just move that up here, and we'll just move on to the next pieces. So we have the top and bottom here. I'm just going to do those at the same time, and then we'll do the top and bottom of this disc shaped piece here, so just relax those down as well. And again, there's really not going to be any good way to stitch this all back together, so I'm just going to kind of lay it out so it makes some sense later on when we texture it. So let's rescale our pieces again, and let's just back off so we can kind of keep an eye on what pieces we're working with. And I'm just going to start with the main section of the pole, just stick it maybe right there, and the discs should go in between obviously, but I'm just going to leave them on the side and just move this down to the top, which is that thin strip there. Grab the next section, move it down here, and this is the bottom of this piece right here, so maybe just stick it right there, and we'll take the top and put it right next to it. Okay, and then we have the bottom of the pole, which we can probably stick in one of these holes to save space, and then we have the top over here. So with that, we could either put it inside or maybe over here. Doesn't really matter. I'm just going to leave it like that for now, and we'll sort it out better later on. So let's close up the relax tool, grab all our pieces again, and just scale them down slightly, and just park them somewhere. Alright, so let's turn off our peel seams, close up our rollout, and just take a look at this. Make sure we're not going to have any weird distortion. And it looks pretty good, so let's just change the color on it to blue. And we'll exit. Just take a look, make sure you have your seam at the back if you can. Alright, so I think we're finally done the base or the bottom half of this thing, and like I said, that's definitely the worst of it. So we'll move up in the next video to the top and start working on some of this stuff. It's a lot lower res, so it should be a lot easier to do. So let's definitely do a save again, and we'll just move on to the next piece.